There are moments in life when the waiting hurts more than the struggle itself. It is not always the battle that exhausts the heart. Sometimes it is the silence that follows the prayer. Sometimes it is waking up day after day, doing the right things, carrying responsibilities, remaining faithful, staying kind, staying patient, and still seeing no visible movement in the direction you hoped your life would go. That kind of waiting can make a person feel forgotten. It can make even the strongest soul wonder if all the effort, all the sacrifices, and all the tears were leading anywhere at all. If that is where you find yourself today, there is something important you need to remember. The season of waiting is not an empty season. It is not wasted time. It is not evidence that your life has stopped moving forward. In many ways, the season of waiting is actually the season of growth. The truth is that some of the most important things that happen in your life happen beneath the surface where nobody can see them. A tree does not become strong because of the branches everyone admires. It becomes strong because of the roots nobody notices. While people celebrate visible success, real transformation often takes place in hidden places. It happens during the long nights when nobody knows how hard you are trying. It happens during the lonely seasons when you continue showing up despite disappointment. It happens when you choose faith over bitterness and hope over despair. Many people look back at difficult chapters and only see what they lost. They remember the opportunities that never arrived, the relationships that ended, the dreams that seemed delayed, and the doors that never opened. But years later, they often realize those same seasons were quietly building something within them that could not have been developed any other way. Strength is not built during comfort. Patience is not built during abundance. Wisdom is not built when everything goes according to plan. These qualities are forged during the waiting. They are developed in the spaces between the prayers and the answers. They grow in the distance between where you are and where you hope to be. You carried burdens that few people ever noticed. There were days when you smiled for others while carrying your own pain in silence. There were moments when you encouraged people even when your own heart needed encouragement. There were seasons when you felt invisible despite giving so much of yourself, yet somehow you kept going. That matters more than you realize. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you understand. Many people would have given up under the weight you carried. Many would have allowed disappointment to harden their hearts. Many would have stopped believing in anything good ahead. Yet something inside you kept moving forward, even when your pace slowed, even when your confidence weakened, even when your energy was nearly gone. There was still a part of you that refused to completely surrender hope. That quiet persistence is evidence of growth. The waiting season often feels unfair because growth does not always announce itself. You do not wake up one morning and suddenly realize how much stronger you have become. Instead, the growth happens gradually. It happens through hundreds of small decisions. Every time you choose kindness after being hurt. Every time you choose patience after being disappointed. Every time you choose faith after feeling discouraged. Every time you continue walking despite not knowing exactly where the road leads. Those moments are shaping you. Those moments are changing you. Those moments are preparing you for responsibilities, opportunities, and blessings that require a stronger version of yourself. Sometimes people assume growth only happens when life improves. But some of your greatest victories happened in silence when nobody was watching. Some of your greatest victories happened when you resisted the urge to quit. Some happened when you survived days you never thought you would survive. Some happened when you chose healing instead of resentment. Those victories may not have received applause, but they mattered. They mattered because they transformed who you were becoming. There is a reason why certain chapters feel longer than expected. There are lessons that cannot be rushed. There are parts of your character that need time to develop. There are wounds that need time to heal. There are perspectives that only arrive through experience. God often works in ways that feel slow from a human perspective, yet what feels slow is often preparation. What feels delayed is often development. What feels hidden is often protection. Looking back, many people discover that the things they once begged for would have overwhelmed them had they received them too soon. They realized they were not being denied. They were being prepared. You may not fully understand your season right now. You may not see how the pieces fit together. You may feel like everyone else is moving ahead while you remain in the same place. But appearances can be deceiving. Growth is not always visible. Some of the most important progress in your life may be happening internally. Your heart may be healing. Your perspective may be maturing. Your resilience may be deepening. Your faith may be becoming stronger. Your understanding of your own worth may be expanding. These developments may not be obvious to others, but they are significant. They will influence every chapter that follows. One of the hardest parts of waiting is watching other people receive what you have been praying for. It can be painful to see others celebrating milestones while your own prayers remain unanswered. It can tempt you to compare your journey with theirs, but comparison often hides an important truth. Every person has a different path. Every story unfolds differently. Every life contains unique lessons, challenges, and timing. Your value is not determined by how quickly something happens for you. Your worth is not measured by whether your journey looks like someone else's. Your story has value even if it did not unfold the way you expected. The waiting season teaches you things success alone could never teach. It teaches humility. It teaches compassion. It teaches empathy for people who are struggling. It teaches gratitude for simple blessings. It teaches dependence on something greater than yourself. These lessons often become some of the most valuable gifts you carry into the future. They shape the way you treat people. They shape the way you lead. They shape the way you love. They shape the way you respond when life becomes difficult again. Because challenges will always exist, but a strengthened spirit responds differently than a weakened one. There is a strength within you that kept moving forward even on your darkest days. That strength did not appear overnight. It was developed through every setback, every disappointment, every unanswered question, and every difficult season. The very things that seemed to be slowing your progress were often strengthening your foundation. The seasons that tested you were also shaping who you were becoming. Perhaps you expected growth to feel exciting. Perhaps you expected transformation to look dramatic. Yet real growth often feels ordinary while it is happening. It feels like showing up one more day. It feels like trusting one more time. It feels like taking one more step despite uncertainty. It feels like believing that your life still has meaning, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. God saw the tears that nobody else noticed. He saw the prayers spoken in quiet moments. He saw the disappointment you never fully expressed. He saw the exhaustion behind your smile. None of it was invisible. None of it was wasted. None of it was forgotten. The waiting season may not have looked productive to others, but heaven saw every act of perseverance. Heaven saw every moment of courage. Heaven saw every decision to keep believing. And while you were waiting for circumstances to change, something important was already changing. You were growing. You were becoming stronger, wiser, more resilient, and more prepared than you realized. If this message reached you during a season of waiting, subscribe to the channel and continue walking this journey with people who believe that growth, healing, faith, and purpose are still possible. Sometimes the encouragement you need arrives one step before the breakthrough you cannot yet see, and there is value in continuing to strengthen your heart along the way. The most difficult part about a season of waiting is that it often disguises itself as a season of stagnation. Day after day can begin to look the same. The prayers sound familiar. The hopes remain unfulfilled. The questions linger longer than expected. You continue carrying responsibilities, showing kindness, doing your best, and trying to remain faithful, yet there seems to be little evidence that anything is changing. It is in those moments that discouragement quietly tries to convince you that nothing is happening. It whispers that your efforts are meaningless. It suggests that your patience has been wasted. It points to delays as proof that you have been overlooked. But discouragement rarely tells the whole story. What it fails to mention is that growth often happens before visible results appear. It fails to mention that some of the most valuable transformations take place in silence. It fails to mention that becoming the person capable of carrying future blessings is often more important than receiving the blessing itself. Many people spend years wishing for a different life, while overlooking the fact that their current season is shaping them into someone capable of handling that future life with wisdom, humility, and strength. Think about how often people admire someone's confidence without seeing the years of uncertainty that came before it. They admire resilience without seeing the countless disappointments that forged it. They admire wisdom without understanding how many painful lessons created it. What appears strong on the outside usually has a long hidden history behind it. The same may be true of you. You may look at your life and focus on what has not happened yet, while missing the remarkable changes taking place within you. Perhaps you have become more patient than you used to be. Perhaps you have learned to recover more quickly from setbacks. Perhaps you have developed compassion for others because of your own struggles. Perhaps your faith has deepened in ways you never expected. These changes matter. They are not small developments. They are evidence that your waiting season is producing something valuable. There is a reason why some of the strongest people are often those who have endured long periods of uncertainty. They learned how to keep moving without immediate rewards. They learned how to maintain hope when circumstances offered little encouragement. They learned how to trust that growth was happening even when they could not see it. Those lessons become part of who they are. They become sources of strength that remain long after the waiting season ends. You are worth far more than the moments that tried to make you feel small. Yet many people allow delayed outcomes to determine how they see themselves. They begin measuring their value by achievements, recognition, relationships, or milestones. When those things do not arrive according to their expectations, they start questioning their worth. But your value was never dependent on timing. It was never dependent on public recognition. It was never dependent on how quickly your prayers were answered. Your worth remains intact, even during seasons when nothing appears to be changing. One of the greatest dangers during waiting seasons is allowing disappointment to become your identity. Experiencing disappointment is part of being human. Allowing disappointment to define who you are is something entirely different. You are not your setbacks. You are not your delays. You are not your unanswered questions. You are not the opportunities that slipped away. You are not the relationships that failed to last. Those experiences are chapters in your story, but they are not the entire story. There is something deeply valuable within you that remains untouched by every setback you have faced. There is a strength, dignity, and purpose that difficult circumstances cannot erase. The waiting season often reveals qualities within you that you never knew existed. When life becomes difficult, you discover reserves of courage you did not know you possessed. When people misunderstand you, you discover the importance of remaining true to yourself. When recognition does not come, you learn how to find value beyond external approval. These lessons may not feel exciting while you are learning them, but they become treasures later. They become foundations upon which future chapters are built. Some people never learn these lessons because they never spend enough time in seasons that require them. Yet those who endure the waiting often emerge with a depth that cannot be manufactured. There is a maturity that develops when you continue believing despite uncertainty. There is a quiet strength that develops when you continue serving despite exhaustion. There is a wisdom that develops when you continue trusting despite confusion. Those qualities cannot be rushed. They require time. They require patience. They require perseverance. The waiting season provides all three. Sometimes God works more deeply in your character than in your circumstances. While you are asking for external change, He may be creating internal growth. While you are focused on a destination, He may be focused on the person you are becoming during the journey. This does not mean your desires do not matter. It does not mean your prayers are being ignored. It simply means there may be more happening than you can currently see. The waiting season is not merely about arriving somewhere. It is about becoming someone. It is about developing the capacity to carry greater responsibilities, deeper relationships, stronger faith, and greater purpose. Looking back, many people realize that their greatest growth happened during seasons they once wanted to escape. They realize those difficult years taught them lessons they still rely upon decades later. They realize those lonely seasons introduced them to strengths they never knew they had. They realize the waiting itself became one of the greatest gifts because it transformed them in ways success alone never could. Not every battle you fought was in vain. Some battles protected your future. Some battles strengthened your character. Some battles revealed what truly mattered. Some battles taught you how resilient you really are. The fact that you survived them means something. The fact that you continued moving forward means something. The fact that you are still hoping, still believing, and still searching for meaning means something. Those qualities are evidence of a spirit that has not been defeated. You may feel tired, you may feel discouraged at times, you may even feel uncertain about what comes next. But uncertainty does not mean failure. Delays do not mean abandonment. Waiting does not mean your story has stopped unfolding. Life often develops in ways that cannot be measured day by day. Growth accumulates quietly. Healing unfolds gradually. Strength develops through repetition. Faith deepens over time. The person you are becoming today may be preparing you for opportunities, relationships, and purposes that are still ahead. One day you may look back and realize that what felt like standing still was actually preparation. What felt like delay was development. What felt like silence was growth. And what felt like an ending was actually the beginning of a new chapter you could not yet see. If these words encouraged you and reminded you that your waiting season still has meaning, subscribe to the channel and continue receiving messages that strengthen your faith, renew your hope, and remind you of the value that already exists within you. Sometimes healing begins when we remember that growth is still happening, even during the quiet chapters of life. One day you may discover that the season you spent trying to escape became one of the most important seasons of your life. Not because it was easy, not because you enjoyed every moment of it, not because you would choose every hardship again, but because it quietly created a version of you that could not have emerged any other way. The waiting season has a way of revealing what truly matters. When distractions fall away, when timelines change, when plans do not unfold as expected, you begin to see life differently. You begin to recognize strengths you overlooked. You begin to appreciate blessings you once took for granted. You begin to understand that some of the most meaningful growth happens far away from applause, recognition, and visible success. There are people who spend their entire lives chasing external validation. They build their identity around what others think, what others say, and what others notice. But waiting seasons often remove those sources of validation. They force a person to discover something deeper. They create an opportunity to build confidence that does not depend on constant approval. They create an opportunity to develop peace that does not depend on perfect circumstances. They create an opportunity to find purpose that remains steady even when life feels uncertain. This kind of growth is rare. It is not flashy. It is not always visible. Yet it is powerful. It becomes the foundation that supports every future season. Your kindness cost you more than most people will ever understand. There were times when being kind meant carrying pain without retaliation. There were times when it meant choosing grace, when bitterness would have been easier. There were times when it meant giving your best even when you received very little in return. Those moments shaped you. They strengthened parts of your character that cannot be developed through comfort alone. The world often celebrates visible accomplishments while overlooking the quiet victories of the heart. Yet some of the greatest victories happen when nobody is watching. Every time you remained compassionate despite disappointment, you achieved a victory. Every time you chose faith over fear, you achieved a victory. Every time you continued moving forward despite exhaustion, you achieved a victory. These moments may never appear in headlines. They may never receive public recognition. But they matter. They matter because they reveal who you truly are. Waiting seasons often feel lonely because growth is deeply personal. Other people may see only fragments of your experience. They may not know about the silent prayers. They may not know about the tears you wiped away before facing another day. They may not know about the private battles you fought simply to keep believing. Yet those experiences are part of your story. They are part of what makes your journey meaningful. They are part of what gives you the ability to encourage others later. People who have never faced hardship can offer advice. People who have endured hardship can offer understanding. The difference is profound. Your struggles have given you an understanding that cannot be taught in books. They have given you empathy for pain. They have given you compassion for discouragement. They have given you patience with people who are struggling. Those qualities are gifts. They may have emerged through difficult circumstances, but they remain valuable long after the circumstances pass. Sometimes the greatest evidence of growth is not what you have gained, but who you have become. Perhaps you are stronger now than you were years ago. Perhaps you recover from disappointment more quickly. Perhaps you understand your worth more clearly. Perhaps you have learned that your value is not determined by other people's opinions. Perhaps you have become more resilient, more thoughtful, more compassionate, and more grounded in what truly matters. These changes may not always be obvious, but they are significant. They represent progress that cannot be measured by external achievements alone. The world often teaches people to focus exclusively on outcomes. It teaches them to evaluate life according to visible results. But some of the most important parts of life happen internally. Healing happens internally. Wisdom develops internally. Character grows internally. Faith deepens internally. These developments eventually influence everything else, but they begin where nobody can see them. The waiting season is often where these transformations take place. God has not forgotten you. Even if the answers have taken longer than expected, even if the path has felt confusing, even if certain prayers remain unanswered, His awareness of your life is not determined by how quickly circumstances change. He saw every moment when you felt discouraged. He saw every time you chose perseverance over surrender. He saw every act of courage that nobody else recognized. He saw every tear that nobody else noticed. There is comfort in knowing that your struggles were never invisible to Him. There is comfort in knowing that your value has never been dependent on public recognition. There is comfort in knowing that difficult seasons do not define your destiny. The future may not unfold exactly as you imagined. Life rarely follows perfect plans. Yet that does not mean good things are absent from your path. Hope remains. Purpose remains. Meaning remains. Opportunities remain. Healing remains. The waiting season may have delayed certain things, but it did not eliminate the possibility of a meaningful future. In many ways, it may have prepared you for it. The fact that you are still standing says more about your strength than you realize. The fact that you continued moving forward despite setbacks says more about your character than you realize. The fact that you refused to completely surrender hope says more about your resilience than you realize. These qualities matter. They are evidence that the waiting season has not defeated you. Instead, it has been shaping you. It has been teaching you. It has been strengthening you. One day you may look back and see that the waiting season was not a pause in your life. It was part of your life. It was a chapter filled with lessons, growth, healing, and preparation. It was a chapter that revealed strengths you did not know you possessed. It was a chapter that deepened your faith and expanded your understanding. It was a chapter that helped transform pain into wisdom and disappointment into resilience. Most importantly, it was a chapter that proved you were capable of more than you believed. Your story is still unfolding. The difficult seasons do not get the final word. The disappointments do not get the final word. The delays do not get the final word. There is still purpose ahead. There is still growth ahead. There is still healing ahead. There is still meaning ahead. The waiting season was never proof that your life had stopped moving forward. It was proof that something valuable was being built beneath the surface. If this journey has encouraged your heart and reminded you that your waiting season has purpose, subscribe to the channel so you can continue receiving messages that strengthen your faith, support your personal growth, and remind you that you are never alone in your journey. Sometimes the next step forward begins with remembering how far you have already come.